What's up everybody, X-Vermillion here once again with Totally Sick Fallout New Vegas Edition, and in this episode we're going to jump straight from Dead Money to the game's second DLC called Honest Hearts. So what you want to do first is a bit of prep work. Take all the stuff that you want to keep and don't want to sell and just put that in a little trunk somewhere. And then we'll step outside for a second and pick up one of the first of many complimentary vouchers that we'll receive since we maxed out our earnings in the Sierra Madre Casino. Then use that at this vending machine to redeem it for free chips. And then you can use those to buy basically whatever you want. I use it to buy a ton of stim packs. Then before you leave, go to the little computer here that's now active and download a holo message that was left on here from Elijah. We'll need that a bit later. Once we step outside and retrieve all of our gear that we left here, we're going to start selling a lot of the other junk that we have left over for a bit of cash so that we can go buy a weapon. Since most of the money that we'll need will come from the Gunrunner's arsenal, we don't want to deplete their stock of money too early, since we don't actually have enough to buy the weapon outright, so we'll go here to the Hidden Valley bunker and just sell a bunch of random stuff to get a bit of extra money. And then finally, we'll go to the Gunrunner's arsenal, and we're going to be buying a weapon called Gehenna, which is a unique variant of a weapon known as the shish kebab, which is essentially like a giant flaming sword. Gehenna is actually a valley located outside of ancient Jerusalem, or was anyway, and it was basically a place where pagans sacrificed humans, and then it also turned into basically a giant flaming trash heap. Gehenna is an Aramaic word that means lake of fire. As you'll see, I will make great use of all the pre-war money that I have. So I can sell all of that off for quite a bit and get all of my money back, so I'll end up with about 20,000 caps once I'm done here. What makes the Gehenna extremely powerful is not only does it have a decent critical hit damage, and I believe it starts with about 42 attack power, which is pretty good. I mean, it's 20 less than Pushy. But it also does a flaming strike, so that whenever you hit someone, you get a damage over time effect, which sets them on fire. It does 5 damage for 10 seconds.
What's up? Let's go.
So once you buy that, you'll want to head to the 188 trading post real quick and talk to Veronica. Basically, zip through all of her dialogue, anything that has to do with Elijah, and then eventually you get that option that says, I found Elijah. And she can look at the holo message that you took from him. If you give it to her, she will get a perk that makes her more powerful. But if you tell her to unlock it and then keep it for yourself, you get a perk called Elijah's Ramblings, which basically makes it so that all of your melee attacks, not unarmed, but just melee, do 50% more damage. So that would work on the shish kebab and the Gehenna, but not something like Love and Hate or Pushy or something like that. So here you'll get to see a bit of how powerful the Gehenna really is. And not only can you use a dot for your fire effect that does damage over time, but you can also apply poison to it, despite the fact that it's a blade that's continuously on fire. And then you can also get a perk which makes fire attacks even stronger, so all of that combined with a lot of the perks that we already have now can make this one of the most powerful weapons in the game. So as you can see, these are the Viper gang that we fought much earlier in the game when we went to go get Love and Hate, and now they don't pose any threat whatsoever. It just cuts through all of their armor like butter. And then we have one more thing that we need to do before we go jump into Honest Hearts. And that is we're going to head south to the town of Novac. The town is called that because there's a hotel there where all of the letters of the no vacancy sign are burnt out except for the first couple of letters of each of the words, so it spells Novac, or for no vacancy. So once we actually get there, we're going to be doing a quest for another one of the possible companions that you have, a guy named Boon, who is he used to be an NCR sniper. And the reason that we're doing the quest is because he will give you a piece of headgear that we'll be wearing throughout the rest of the game. The town of Novac is actually based on a few different towns in California. One is called Baker, California, and it's based on that because Baker, California has the world's largest thermometer. And then there's another town called Cabezon, California. And the reason that that is famous is because you may have seen it in the town, or in the movie Pee-wee's Big Adventure. It has all those giant dinosaur statues. As you can see off in the distance there is a large T-Rex holding a giant thermometer.
Hey! Come on!
So this quest basically involves Boon needs to know his wife was sold into slavery, and then not wanting her to be a slave for her whole life, he found her, and then Mercy killed her. So he wants to take revenge on the people who sold her into slavery in the first place, and it's someone in Novac, and you just have to find out who it is. Luckily, if you already know who it is, you don't have to go talk to everyone and do a bunch of sleuthing around. You can just tell Boon to kill who it is immediately, and then the quest will be over pretty shortly. So the person who actually sold his wife into slavery is the person who runs this motel that we're in, a woman named Jenny Mae Crawford. Now, Boon won't be satisfied with just knowing, because obviously we know ahead of time due to, the power of game facts, but he doesn't know, so he needs proof. And the easiest way to get the proof is after you have him kill her, you can go to a safe that she has in the floor and use a key that you pick off of her body, and then you open the safe, and that has the bill of sale for Boon's wife. Basically, what he wants you to do is you go pick out who you think is the person who sold his wife, and then you go stand in a certain area of the town, and you put on his beret, and that's the signal for him to go kill her. Now, you can only do this quest while Boon is standing guard, so you have to do it sometime between 9 p.m. and 9 a.m.
Well.
So there's Jenny Mae. Go tell her to follow you out to in front of the dinosaur for no reason whatsoever. Completely not suspicious at all. And then when she gets over there, put on Boon's beret, and then her head will suddenly explode because he murders her. And then when the quest is over, Boon will give you an item called the First Recon Beret, which is a non-NPC version of the beret that he's wearing. The reason that we want this is because it gives us a additional plus 5% critical chance to get a critical hit. Since our build for this game is all about critical hit damage and getting critical hits in the first place. I don't actually show it on in gameplay footage here, but there is one other thing that you'll want to do before you head to start Honest Hearts proper, and that is you'll want to make a bunch of items called snakebite tourniquets. They're items that as soon as you get poisoned by cazadores or geckos or whatever, they automatically get used and cure you of the poison, and then they give you a 85% poison resistance for a limited period of time. So they're extremely useful items, and unfortunately in Honest Hearts, just about every enemy that you come across can poison you in some fashion. So they'll be very useful.
What is it?
The way that you would get those is you need surgical tubing, which you can go buy from Dr. Kusanagi in the New Vegas Medical Clinic, and then you also need buffalo gourd seeds, and the easiest place to find a bunch of those is inside the Lucky 38 Casino in the lobby, just behind the bar. There's like 6 or 7 of them, and Dr. Kusanagi just so happens to have 6 or 7 surgical tubing, so that should enable you to make all the snakebite tourniquets you'll need. So we'll fast travel to the closest place that we have towards the Zion Valley entrance to Honest Hearts. Now, unlike Dead Money, all of your items are still with you, so you keep all of the armor and weapons, but there is a weight limit of 75 pounds. You can increase the weight limit if you have a high enough survival skill, or there's a guy inside who's wearing a vault uniform and has a Pip-Boy just like you do, and you can intimidate him into carrying some of your items for you, which increases the weight limit from 75 to 100. You don't have to actually give any items to him. As soon as you intimidate him enough, it just automatically, you get a notification that the weight limit has been increased. The way that you can intimidate him is he is actually a fraud. He is not a vault dweller. He stole the Pip-Boy off of a guy's corpse, and since the only reason he's in the expedition group in the first place is because he has a Pip-Boy to hold like maps and stuff, getting him discovered would, it'd basically kick him off the expedition. So you agree to you agree to keep quiet if he'll carry your stuff for you. And the way that you do that is basically, if you have a high enough science skill, you can call bullshit on a lot of his lies.
Howdy, friend.
So this is the Happy Trails caravan, and you talk to Jed there, and it begins Honest Hearts. It's a month-long trek to Zion Valley.
The path we're following.
Now, this little bit of backstory they give here, essentially,
And listen to what old Jed had.
Caesar, who you may remember is the main bad guy for this game, used to have a general, or like a second-in-command guy named Joshua Graham, who was like a huge badass.
Except that they were
He was known for being like incredibly ruthless, although not very tactically minded.
of Colts, but the new
And
they were honest.
Joshua eventually got too cocky and got his ass kicked by these guys who teamed up to beat him. So Caesar, wanting to show that he does not tolerate failure,
Caesar's first war.
covered Joshua Graham in tar, set him on fire, and threw him off of a cliff.
Graham.
However, Joshua Graham is so badass that he not only survived that, but came back to continue to wreak havoc as the Burned Man.
Talk about him. They were ashamed. Guess I can't blame them.
So that's the backstory. The story as it stands now is essentially you're part of the Happy Trails caravan, and everyone involved
Had to make an example.
gets ambushed by a group of the Native Americans that are here, one of the tribes that's here. And essentially, in order to find your way home, you need to start helping out one of the other tribes that's there. So you basically get embroiled in like a turf war between three Native American tribes. There's the bad guys, who are the White Legs, led by their leader, Salt Upon Wounds. There's the good guys, the ones that you help,
All this talk.
the Dead Horses, led by Joshua Graham. And then there's a third sort of like neutral party called the Sorrows, who are led by this sort of like hippie cowboy guy named Daniel.
Joshua Graham disappeared, and in his place came legends of the Burned Man walking the wastes. Probably just a tribal ghost story.
You may also remember that in the very first episode, the very first perk that I took at level 2 was a perk called Hunter, which increased the amount of damage that you do to just like regular animals by 75%. Now, up until now, the only enemy that's actually had any effect on in a significant way were the lake lurks in the cave that we found Pushy in. However, in this DLC, they added a new monster that it is very effective against. It falls into that category. It's a large mutated bear called a Yao Guai, which is Chinese for monster.
Worries me, Jed. Those descents we made through that slot canyon back up there.
Now, as soon as you're able to move, basically you'll want to jump off this little cliff here and then run across the bridge, because all these guys will get ambushed, and their deaths are scripted. There is no way to get around it. One interesting thing is that besides calling Ricky out on all his bullshit, instead of telling him to carry your stuff, you also have the option to tell him to just beat it and kick him off the expedition permanently, thereby saving his life. Unfortunately, the game developers didn't actually do anything with this. As soon as he leaves the cave, he disappears for good. You can't like find him later and be like, hey, I totally saved your life. So these are the White Legs. some of these guys are actually pretty tough, at least the ones that use physical attacks. There's 4 basic types of them. There's ones that mainly use like melee attacks. So some of them actually have a shish kebab, so they have a weaker version of the weapon that I have now. Some of them have mantis gauntlets, which is another powerful melee weapon. Some of them use primarily like hatchets or explosives, and then the rest of them just use guns. So we'll let those guys get murdered, and we'll just continue on. Up ahead, you'll meet basically your liaison for the Dead Horses tribe, a guy named Follows Chalk. He'll ask to tag along, and you can just tell him to scram, because we're not going to be using any companions, obviously. And essentially, you'll want to make your way towards the Dead Horses camp by just following this path. Now, every one of the white legs that you kill, you'll want to search their corpses for a stuff called Datura antivenom. Some of the white legs can use melee attacks to poison you with a poison called Datura, and unfortunately it cannot be cured with snakebite tourniquets or any normal antivenom. It can only be cured by Datura antivenom, which you can only find in this DLC, so that's kind of a pain in the ass. So here's one of the Yaoguais. They're not, like, super tough. Especially not when you can light them on fire. And Super Slam helps as well, because that'll just knock them down and you can just bum rush them. So essentially what we're doing is, once we make our way to the Dead Horses camp, we'll meet Joshua Graham and he'll explain the situation, basically what I already said. And you'll have to go do a couple of quests to gather supplies and then take them to Daniel, who's with the Sorrows. And then once you do those quests, you have to do a second set of quests, basically to either prepare to rush the White Legs and crush them for good, or to escape. Now, this map, more than any of the other DLCs, you'll probably want to fast travel most everywhere, because if you look on the map, it basically shows it as everything being in a straight line. However, this map, as you can see, has a lot of verticality to it. So you'll not be able to just run in a straight line from point A to point B. You'll want to basically fast travel everywhere. Also, one of the easiest things to do is to stick to the river. That will have the least... There are no aquatic enemies in this DLC, so most of the enemies will be on the main path. So as long as you stick in the river, most of them shouldn't be able to reach you. Besides the Yaoguai and the White Legs, all the other monsters that you'll fight here are creatures that you've already seen before. The Praying Mantis, Mole Rats, Big Horners... and then, of course, Cazadors. So here is the Dead Horses camp. Here we will rest, and then we'll go make some of our snakebite tourniquets. And there's a quest that we can do that's an optional quest to go fight a powerful optional boss to get a melee weapon. It's not really better or worse than the one we have now. It's just, you know, a unique item, and as long as we're here, I'll do the quest anyway. To actually initiate the quest, you need a item, or you need 3 items, actually. 3 sets of... roots called Sacred Datura Root. Now, normally when you start the quest a little later on, you have to go find them. However, the first time you meet Joshua Graham here, he actually sells them. So if you know ahead of time to just get them from him, you can just buy them. And that cuts down on the difficulty of that future quest considerably. So we'll talk to him real quick, agree to help him, then we'll have him repair all of our stuff. and then buy the Sacred Datura root from him. You just need 3 of them. And then we'll begin all of the quests that you can see popping up on the side there.
Joshua says you need some...
So Follows Chalk tries to come with you again, and we'll decline his offer once again. And then we're going to fast travel back to that little shack that we saw at the top of the hill there. The welcome booth. So the first thing that we need to do is go find a compass and repair it. Luckily, the item to repair it is sitting literally right next to the compass, or if you have a high enough repair skill, you can just repair it without that item, but there's not really any point to that because, as I mentioned, the item is right next to it. So we're going to go down this little hill here and try not to do what I do and accidentally fall and take off like almost all of my health. So you'll want to grab the sensor module here and then repair the compass, collect that, and boom, that quest is done. So the next quest that we need to do is we need to go get some food supplies. So we gained another level, and what you're going to want to use that on is boost your energy weapons, obviously, or boost your explosive skill, depending on whether you're running this game as patched or unpatched for the unofficial patch. And then you'll want to kick your repair skill up to 23. Boosting it to 23 will help you in a future quest because that's the level that you need to disarm those bear traps that you see every once in a while. There's a quest later on that involves disarming those bear traps, and if you can just do it manually, then that quest is super easy. So we'll cut through this little campsite here. And then immediately go back into the riverbed to bypass most of the monsters. Now, both this next area that we're going to that has all these lunch boxes in it, and there's a future area, the quest that's after this, where you have to find a medical kit. Both of these areas have a key somewhere in the building that you can use to unlock part of the items that you need. Or you can just pick them if your lockpicking skill is high enough. So we'll go up this little hill here, and then we'll go find all the stuff that's in this building that we need. So in here, if you open this, you'll get a little cabinet key there instead of having to pick the lock, and you'll get a couple of walkie-talkies from here. So that completes that quest. And then we'll just run straight ahead and go towards the area that has both the lunch boxes and the medical kits. As you can see, it said snakebite tourniquet wore off. That means that I was poisoned by those geckos. So along the way, while you're on these paths, you'll fight you'll get a bunch of random encounters, and the monsters are different every time. Sometimes it's these ants or rad scorpions or cazadors or geckos, or sometimes it's groups of the white legs. You can mostly just ignore them, unless it's an enemy with a ranged attack. Then you'll probably want to take them out. Otherwise, they'll just follow you the whole way and take pot shots at you. Fortunately, sometimes you'll also have help from the local dead horses. And sometimes, in instances like these, they'll just be fighting each other, so you can safely ignore them. So up ahead here is the general store. These are where the lunchboxes are. So just kill all the enemies inside. Now the key to get one of the lunchboxes in the back is in a toolbox that's back here. Unfortunately, I forgot where it was, so I just picked the lock instead, which takes a little longer, but whatever. So there's one lunchbox in here. There's one directly behind me in a locker that the game fights tooth and nail for me to try to actually pick up. There's one in a box to your left on one side of the store, and then there's two on a counter on the other side of the store. Yeah, this one. Oop, oh, oh, wait, hold on. There we go. Okay. So then there's one directly behind me here, and then the final two are just out in plain sight. So that's all 5 of those. And then you'll need to go grab a medical kit. Now there's a few ways to salvage the medical kit. If you have a high enough medical skill, like I do, you can just salvage it outright. Otherwise, you need to replace or sterilize a lot of the parts that are in it. And to do that, you can just use items that are actually in this store right now itself, like alcohol to sterilize and turpentine and some other things. So we'll rest here again, fully restore our health and all that. And then finally, we have all the items that we need, so now we need to make our way to the Sorrows camp and give all of the stuff that we got to Daniel, and he will give us the second set of our quests here to gather even more supplies. But before we do that, we're going to do our optional quest that I mentioned. As you can see, that guy was one of the painmakers. He has a shish kebab. The good thing about these guys having the shish kebabs is that since it is basically just a less powerful version of the Gehenna, you can get them, and it will allow you to use your repair skill to repair your own weapon. That other guy that I fought was one of the guys that has the Mantis Gauntlet. Those are the guys that have the chance to inflict you with the Dark Datura. That stuff hurts quite a bit. It hurts almost as much as the Cazador's poison, so you'll definitely want to get that removed. You'll know you've been infected because it affects your screen. Your screen has this weird, like, Instagram filter all over it. So now we're at the Narrows, which is where the Sorrows camp is.
You are the one,
This is another one of your potential companions, Waking Cloud. She's basically the Follows Chalk of the Sorrows. So as soon as we get around this corner, we'll talk to Daniel and give him all the supplies, and then we'll go start the optional side quest. Basically, you walk into a cave and you talk to a guy named Whitebird, and he mashes up all the datura for you and has you take it and basically go on like a vision quest and fight a optional boss. But that is all for this episode, and I will see you guys next time.